it's Daz, and I apologize for not uploading on Friday. I like to stick to a schedule, but sometimes I don't. So you're getting a Monday upload. I feel rattled because I signed into work today only to find out that my manager was laid off and they abruptly laid off some team members. Now, this isn't a surprise as we've been talking about layoffs all year and how more and more companies are laying off people. And I've been at my company 4.5 years and I've survived about 4 rounds of layoffs. Each time it was always so close to home, like people on the same team as me or a team I had just left. It's like I had just cleared it, like a firing squad, and I'm like one of the few standing. And each time I'm saddened for those, whether they were a new college grad who just started, someone who was a new hire for 9 months or they've been there 20 years, it still hurts to see somebody lose their job. Now, some people have a better plan. Maybe their household has multiple streams of income. Maybe they have a passive side of income, but it's still not ideal, and it's just a symptom of our economy. And I work for a major tech company, and we're notorious for layoffs. Every time a fiscal year begins or ends, there's always cuts or trimming of the fat that they do. And I've worked in multiple departments. I've worked in learning. I've worked on the federal side. I've worked on the commercial side in consulting, and I've worked now in support. And I've seen all of these positions. It doesn't matter if you're a software engineer, if you're a facilitator, if you have a VA or DoD clearance, or if you're just a consultant or technical analyst, you could be next. And it's the same way with any major tech company. It's the same way that we're seeing with a lot of these jobs that are disappearing. And I feel so bad for this new generation of kids graduating school today, especially for Gen Z and then Gen Alpha. I mean, they're very young still. I think the oldest Gen Alpha is born in 2012, so they're 13. But I don't see anything changing anytime soon because jobs are being automated as we speak. And this presidency has been one of the most pro AI, pro automation of jobs. And this is the time where I really feel like you really can't rely on just an employer because no job is truly safe. And this is why passive income is so important. And I'm someone who does not really like to think about investing or having to start a business. Like, it doesn't seem fair that you're forced to do extra work outside of work. Already, as I've mentioned, I've gotten deep into mountaineering. I want to be a mountaineer alpinist. And that in itself is both a timely and costly endeavor. And so I find myself every time I clock out of work training, whether it's going to the rock climbing gym, going to the gym, trail running, doing plyometrics, weightlifting, cardio. And it's like having a job without a job, except I don't get paid for it, even if I love what I do. And I know that the further I get along in this journey, I'm going to have to figure out a way to leave my 9 to 5 because there's no way I'm going to have time to summit a mountain and climb if it's a 9-day journey and only have 80 hours in a PTO bank. So it is pushing me to think outside of the box more and more, both in my physical ability, because I'm a late bloomer. I started at the age of 30. I'm going on 31 this month at the end. And a lot of people who do this are a lot younger than me when they start. I hiked in my 20s, but I wasn't into deep hiking or endurance hiking. But the same way I had to catch on, and I'm adapting, and I've done one peak, and I'm going to do another peak next month and another peak in November. That's going to be really tough. I also realize I have to adapt in this world I'm in when it comes to the economy. And it doesn't just mean getting passive income. I talked about this at the beginning of the year, but whether it's learning how to garden or how to grow your own food, whether it's learning how to trade items between neighbors, we're going to have to be more creative than ever because unfortunately the greed is only getting worse in the world we're in. And it's crazy how so many people are without work, yet benefits are being cut off very quickly on many. And I'm realizing that everything I thought would be as an adult isn't really what it is. And I'm someone who is child free. I don't have any biological children of my own. And I'm relieved, not because I don't like kids, but because when I look at the things that are happening, these mass school shootings, these stories of teachers wearing inappropriate outfits, of like there was a teacher in Kansas City, apparently he was doing corn, that's the euphemism for it. Not necessarily with children, but it's just disgusting. it makes me see just like the world we're in, unfortunately, is very corrupted. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong if you want a family and everything, but when I see the cost of living and I see what it takes, I feel like there's ways I can give and kind of parent in other ways. And it's a crazy world we're in. Also, I know I talked about this a couple weeks ago about softcore martial law. There was a mass shooting on Labor Day where I think 50 something people were injured and I think 7 dead in Chicago. And this comes after Trump wants to send in the National Guard, and the mayor of Chicago and the governor are trying to resist him. This is only going to serve as further proof that there needs to be law and order, and they're probably going to end up sending in the National Guard and ICE. Same thing in Minneapolis. That doesn't look good either with the Catholic school shooting. It's just, I think some of this violence is natural because I think people as a whole are frustrated and fed up because it's hard for most to survive on their own. But also there is, I believe, certain things that are exploited to pass certain policies, and there is a aim to have control. I really think that Trump is going to try to be president again for a third term and change the amendments in the Constitution. And I feel like he wants to kind of pull a Putin or a Xi Jinping and find a way to do so until he dies, because even though there's others that share his vision, he's the one that has the pull for his base that others don't. But aside from all of that, yeah, our company definitely experienced that today, and I know other major IT companies have been experiencing it. We have a lot of people employed internationally, like in India, that I'm sure have been impacted as well. And it's crazy. Again, I keep being shook by the idea that people in the medical industry, whether it's doctors, nurses, they're either mass quitting or getting laid off. And I'm hearing that even new nurses are having trouble finding work. To me, that is a big writing on the wall. And I'm going to say this one thing, and please don't take this as me trying to predict the future. This is just something I wanted to share with you all. 5 years ago, I had a dream where I saw the date September 7th on the calendar. I don't know if anything will or won't happen on September 7th. I just saw the date, nothing about what's happening or anything like that. I thought 2020, maybe something would. Since I've had the dream, nothing. Maybe it's something of personal significance to me. Because it's September, it's in my head. But I do feel like because we're moving into fall and into the harvest season and into another really year in a way, or quarter, it's going to be interesting times for sure. But let me know what's going on. Have you been impacted by any of these mass changes that are occurring? And how do you feel about the fact that jobs are so quickly being automated? I can recall being in college and studying sociology and taking globalization and talking about the automation of jobs. I remember making my first video on here when I was still in my early to mid 20s, and now I'm in my early 30s, and we're seeing this happen at breakneck speed. And it's crazy because there's nothing really anyone could do to slow this down. Let me know your thoughts. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and week. Take care. God bless. Until next time.